All right, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. It's Fry Time Media. It's Saturday, and as y'all know, or as you should know, every Saturday I do a little Bible study. You know what I'm saying? Try to keep the Most High in the forethought, the forefront of our minds. Excuse me, I'm getting a little tongue-tied. Which reminds me, real quick, I'm going to get some water. Don't go nowhere. I'll be right back. Yeah, man. So I try to do something productive every day. Every Saturday, I try to remember to keep the Sabbath holy. You know, it's sundown now, so I guess technically I'm a little late, but it's the thought that counts, right? All right, so this is for the Hood Bible series. Like I said, I'm going to keep uploading every Saturday. Y'all keep me honest about that. Y'all be sure to like these videos. Be sure to hit the subscribe button if you're new. Leave a comment to give me some encouragement, to give me some motivation to keep this thing going. Whether you watch it or not, I'm going to keep doing it just off GP, but it's always nice to have positive feedback. Helps me to stay motivated. You understand? All right, so before my last book, last upload, I think for the Hood Bible series, I was reading from Luke. But as I was reading, I realized, I mean, I've read the whole Bible, all the books of the Bible, cover to cover. So I've read all of this before. But I realized that some of my followers, some of the people who might be new to the channel, who are interested in the Bible study, uh, maybe you haven't read the whole Bible. So I figure since I'm planning on doing this, not just for this year, but consistently for the foreseeable future, I'm talking 5, 10 years, I'll still be uploading videos. So I might as well start from the beginning, just so there's an accurate record of everything I've gone through, everything I've read, everything that's in the Bible. So let's not start in Luke or the New Testament, and let's not skip around like you can do at church. You know, when you go to church, the pastor will start in Corinthians, then turn your books to Peter, then turn your books to Old Testament, then New Testament. You know, they do a lot of jumping around. But my intention here is to be start from the beginning and just read cover to cover. So I'm just going to go from Genesis, give you some thoughts. Now, disclaimer: as I'm reading, I'm going to translate it into modern day vernacular. So don't think I'm like adding something to the Bible or taking anything away. No, I'm just going to read the Bible, but as I read, I'm putting it into a modern translation, into modern vernacular, because all the have-nots can get a little confusing. So if I substitute yay or ye for you, you know, don't be mad at me. With that being said, let's get started. Book of Genesis, chapter 1, verse 1. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. God moved upon the face of the waters. And God said, let there be light. Boom! And there was light. Now, the scientists like to say they believe not in the Bible and the creation theory, but they believe in the Big Bang. You know, boom. It all started with the boom. But I don't think there's a big conflict there. I think the creation story and the Big Bang theory are rather similar. God said, let there be light. Boom, instantaneous light. Sounds like Big Bang to me. And God saw the light that it was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. And God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. So already he's naming stuff. The first thing he named was day and night. That's interesting. And God said, let there be a firmament in the midst of the water, and let it divide the waters from the waters. And that's interesting too, because if you listen to the Big Bang Theory, what they believe is it started off with. Um, so I'm not going to get into that. Let's just read. And God made the firmament and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters from which were above firmament, and it was so. So that means the firmament is the land. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Sounds like Pangea to me. Let the waters be gathered unto one place. If you look at a map of Pangea, all of the waters were connected, and there was only one landmass, which was Pangea. I don't know. I mean, the Bible, I think it confirms a lot of the stuff that science says, but that's just me. And God called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seeds, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself, upon the earth. And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself, after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And God said, let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and for years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made stars also. And God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was. So notice everything that he's doing when he gets done. I hope I'm gonna have to replay this to make sure that you can hear, because uh, my volume just went off. Hopefully you can still hear me. But after everything he creates, he's always saying it's good, right? So that's kind of interesting. Want to keep this thing going, and to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. And God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that has life. So really, if you think about it, if you go back and do your research about the Big Bang Theory, they say the process that the creation story here in Genesis lays out very well lines up with the Big Bang Theory, where the water comes first and then the land is separated. There's only one large landmass being Pangea, and all of the waters are collected. Then they say from that we get plants. Plants come before the animals, so we get the plants that's growing, seeds and trees grow first, and then after the plants come, then the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, and the fowl that may fly above the earth, in the open firmament of heaven. So if you read the Bible, Genesis, just the creation story, Genesis chapter 1, we're still in chapter 1, verse 20. And you think about, or if you go back and do your research on the creation theory, they very closely align. There's not really a big difference. The only difference is scientists like to, they don't explain where the bang comes from. If you ask, oh, there's a big bang, where did the bang come from? Who created the bang? They don't answer that question. But the bang was initiated by God. That's what I'm saying, the Most High. Shout out Trayvon Jones. People don't realize that outer space and the oceans are connected. Facts, facts is all connected. It's all connected, man. Shout out Trayvon. Y'all be sure to follow my boy Trayvon too. He's a good dude. He's a good dude out there. Y'all check him out. All right, moving on to 21. And God created great whales, and every living creature that moveth without the waters brought forth abundantly after their kind, and every winged fowl after his kind. And God saw that it was good. So there's a progression. First the water, then the land, and from the land we start to get the plants, and from the plants we get the sea, the fish, and we get the fowls of the air. So there's animals moving in the waters, now there's birds flying in the sky. And God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply, and fill the waters in the seas, and let fowl multiply in the earth. Now, this is the first blessing, and it's a mandate that he's later going to give man, human. The blessing was be fruitful and multiply. The ability to reproduce is a great blessing that a lot of people take for granted these days. These days, there's a large pushback, a lot of confrontation between, it's like a gender war and stuff like that. Women are waiting longer to have children and get married. Men are saying, well, these women are not being cooperative, and we're looking for more submissive women, women who want to be mothers, who want to be nurturers. And because of this conflict, we're not multiplying. It's really interesting the way that these days a lot of, I'm going to say the elite, like to market to the people that there's an overpopulation of the earth when there's plenty of land on this earth, there's plenty of resources on this earth. But really, what they're not talking about is the way that so many societies are collapsing due to negative birth rates. If you go out there to Japan and check out the negative birth rates, China is now being affected. China, with 1.5 billion people, is now having trouble reproducing their population. The white people in America and in Europe having trouble reproducing. The first blessing, this is the first blessing we're reading now together in the book of Genesis. The first blessing that God gave was to be fruitful and multiply. And we take it for granted that everyone won't have that option. Hushway, drink some water. And God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature after his kind, cattle and creeping things, and the beasts of the earth after his kind, and it was so. And God made the beasts of the earth after his kind, and cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And God saw that it was good. And God said, let us, now this is something I want to highlight. God said, let us. Who is us? Now I'm just asking questions here. Now I'm not a pastor, I'm not a priest. I'm not going to give you the answers, but just I got some questions. If you have an answer for me, send it and leave it in the comment section. But this is something just to make you think. In the first creation story, because a lot of people like to talk about Adam and Eve and say Adam and Eve were the first men and women on earth. That's not true. But the first creation story, there's two creation stories in Genesis. The first creation story, Genesis chapter 1, verse 26, says, and God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. So, who is us? Who is our image? What is our image and our likeness? And why is it saying let them have dominion? There's a lot of pluralities here. Us means more than one person. After our image, our is more than one person. Let them, that's more than one person. So God created, verse 27, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. 27, chapter 1, verse 27. Now that's a deep verse. You can just meditate on that. Sit that in your let that sizzle in your spirit. Who is us? Verse 27 says, God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female. There's a lot you can think about. There's a lot to say there. Who is us? Why are male and female being created in his image? Created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, what? Be fruitful and multiply. So first, God blessed the earth by telling the animals to be fruitful and multiply. And in verse 28, God blesses them, male and female. And what's the blessing that he gives them? Be fruitful and multiply. The ability to regenerate, the ability to reproduce is a blessing. Now, if you think, if you do your research, they say that the most miserable human on earth is a woman in her 40s without a child and without a husband, an unmarried woman in her 40s who no longer has the ability to reproduce, without a husband and without a child. That statistically is the most miserable demographic in America, because they failed to reap the blessing that God has for them, the ability to multiply and be fruitful. That's why it's important, not just women, but men also. Men, we have a little bit longer of a time frame that we have the ability to reproduce. We can reproduce all our lives. So we were blessed with extra time. So, That's a blessing for men that we have more time. We can go out into the world and figure ourselves out. But women have to really have that biological clock where they really have to take that reproduction seriously. Moving on with the reading, verse 28. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. So we're supposed to have dominion over these animals, but that doesn't mean we're supposed to be tyrants over them. We're supposed to protect and preserve the animals. I think I made a video about this before, how 65% of the animals on the earth have gone extinct since 1970. In about 50 years' time, 65% of the planet's animals have gone extinct. Under our watch, we're supposed to have this earth subdued. We have dominion. We have charge over this earth. And we're not doing a good job of taking care of our subjects. Verse 29. And God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Meaning, you're supposed to be a vegan. In case you don't know, I'm just gonna be the one to let you know. Veganism is the aim. Now, I'm not a vegan. Full disclosure, I'm pescatarian. I still eat fish, and that's something that I struggle with. I need to try to get under control. But I'm naturally a skinny guy, and I'm not going to make any excuses. I'm not going to make any excuses. Veganism is the goal. We should always try to aim up. Whether you just quit eating pork, which is, hey, that's a good thing. That's a step in the right direction. Then maybe you can stop eating beef. Then maybe you can stop eating chicken. This is the process I went down to become a pescatarian, and one day I hope to become a vegan. And now I'm cutting out shellfish. Yeah, as a Hebrew, I still slip. I don't eat shellfish very often, but like on special occasions, I might, I might. I'm not gonna lie, those shrimp noodles. It doesn't really have the shrimp, but it has like the shrimp flavoring. That's kind of what gets me. But yeah, shellfish, it's an abomination. We're going to get into that in the book of Deuteronomy. But yeah, just reducing these things. As a pescatarian, I'm already limited. I don't eat pork, I don't eat beef, I don't eat chicken, so I don't eat fowls, turkey on Thanksgiving, none of that. But verse 29 is saying you're supposed to have the herbs, the plants. This will be your meat. This is supposed to be what you're aiming to eat for best health. And health is important, health is wealth. Verse 30. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. And it was so. Meaning all the animals, not only were humans supposed to be vegans, the animals were supposed to be vegans too. Now I know you're going to say, well, how can that be? How can you have a vegan lion, right? How can you have a vegan tiger? Like it just couldn't happen. But the thing about it is you got to understand that our nature changed after the flood. We're going to get into it. We're going to get into it, and I'm going to give you my philosophy on all of this. But originally, when God first created the earth, man, humans, and animals alike, we were supposed to be vegans. We were supposed to eat off of the plants, eat off of the trees, eat off of the bushes, the herbs of the earth. The plants were supposed to be our meat. And where we messed up at was when we were all flooded out. Now there are no more plants, there are no more trees. It's been a great flood, everything's dead. So what are you going to eat? Well, I got these chickens are giving me some eggs. These chickens are reproducing eggs. Yeah, I might need some of those chicken eggs, those duck eggs. Oh, your chickens are reproducing. Those rabbits are reproducing. Maybe we can eat some of those rabbits. You got to think about what you would do after a great flood that flooded the whole earth, but you got a boat full of animals. What are you going to eat? Those chickens are going to make eggs. Those rabbits are going to reproduce. You're going to eat the rabbit babies. You're going to eat those eggs. Then, as the population of those animals start growing, your diet is going to change. while you wait for the plants to regrow. Sorry, it gets deep, but it's just something you got to think about. Verse 31. And God saw everything that he made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. So this is all chapter 1. Notice right before he says things were very good, everything was vegan. That's don't miss that. There's a lot of hidden meanings if you read the Bible and just think about it with an open mind. You think about how these things could be possible, what it would look like if you were there at that time, if you were watching a movie of all of this going down. How would it look like? How could this make sense? All right, I just read chapter 1. I think we're 20 minutes in. I think I'll read another chapter 2. Okay, I'm going to read chapter 2, maybe stop after chapter 3. Only a couple chapters just to, give you all some thoughts on this. So let's move on to chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the host of them. So now God's done. It's the sixth day. He said, everyone's going to be a vegan. Let's move on. My work here is done. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. Now, if you ask me, this is not a teaching, this is just my personal opinion. I think God's still resting. I'm talking about the Most High. The Most High, because after this, when you start getting into chapter 2, then you start talking about the Lord God. They're going to start talking in chapter 2 about the Lord God. In chapter 1, it's only God, capital G, big G. God's creating the heaven and the earth. God's created man in our image, both male and female. God, not Lord God, God, big G, God. God is saying, go forth, be fruitful and multiply. That's God saying this. But in chapter 2, we start talking about the Lord God. In my personal opinion, it sounds to me like these are two different entities. God rested on the seventh day, and I think he's still resting and waiting for judgment day. But that's just, just something to think about. All right, verse 3, chapter 2, verse 3. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because that in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. So he's blessing the seventh day. These are the generations of the heavens and of the earth when they were created in the day that the Lord God made and the heavens. And every plant of the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew. For the Lord God, verse 5, chapter 2, verse 5, they stopped talking about God and they start talking about, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth, and there was not a man to till the ground. So who is the Lord God? First we were talking about God. He rested on the seventh day. But now we start talking about the Lord God. Who is this Lord God? Where did this Lord God come from? Now, mind you, in chapter 1, they said God created man and male and female, created he, them. In chapter 1. Then in chapter 2, they started talking about the Lord God. Shout out Trayvon. See, our time is not... Hold on, where my comments go? See, I'm recording this on the iPhone. I see you left a message. Okay, there we go. I wasn't seeing it before. I'm liking these Bible teachings. Okay, shout out, hey, shout out Trayvon. Appreciate the support, brother. Yeah, the Most High is male and female. That's right. I stopped pork. Okay, good. Yeah, man. Oh, okay, no seafood. Okay, good. Yeah, it's important to watch your diet these days. See, our time is not his time. One day he could be 1,000 years. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah, his time frame is not our time frame. That's another thing. Actually, I'm glad you pointed that out, bro. When we're talking about one day he created this, and the second day he created this, the third day he created this, our time frame is not his time frame, right? So 1,000 years could go by, 1,000, 100, 10,000, 100,000 years could go by, and God's thinking of it as a day in his time. We're saying in the first day, but And then you wonder why the scientists say, oh, well, the planet's been here for a million years. The Bible can't be right. He said he did it in 7 days. No, those 7 days are 7 days of his time. Our time, it could be considered exponential, 10,000, 100,000 years. There's no way to know exactly the ratio of time, of man's time. They say a dog 7 years is 1 human year. 1 human year to a dog is like 7 years. So if you can understand that, depending on what species you're talking about, your time frame is not necessarily going to match up. Just think about a higher being capable of creating an entire universe with his thought and his words alone. His time frame and our time frame is not the same. So when you're talking about a day, you gotta take that with a grain of salt. You gotta take that with the understanding that his day is not the same as our day. And like I said, a lot of these things that you read in the Bible, they will line up with science if you take the time and think about it with an open mind. So yeah, shout out Trayvon Jones for pointing that out. Um, okay, so we're talking about the Lord God. So yeah, so in chapter 2, they start moving away from God, and now they're talking about the Lord God. And every plant in the field before it was in the earth, and every herb of the field before it grew, for the Lord God had not caused it to rain upon the earth. So who is this Lord God, and why does he have to cause it to rain? And there was not a man to till the ground. So why couldn't the Lord God till the ground? These are just some questions. I'm not. I can't answer these questions. These are just something to think about as we're reading, right? But there went up a mist from the earth and watered the whole face of the ground. And the Lord God formed man of the dust. The Lord God. Now notice in chapter 1, verse 27, we see, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him, male and female created he them. That's chapter 1, verse 27. Chapter 2, we move away from so God created, and now in chapter 2, we're seeing, oh, there's no man to till the ground. What am I going to do? There went up a mist from the earth, which is like a cloud. The water became face of